Hey y'all, I'm back. I know it's been a few days, but I was on vacation enjoying my family with my daughter, and we actually had a good time. But I was so ready to come home to get back to my regular life, to get back to my regular space, and just see my people in Houston. I'm happy to be back. Um, but on the plane, I was thinking of a topic that I've visited many times, and I still visit it um, through my process, and it's disappointment, especially when you're on the receiving end. You're like, gosh, all these things, or that you thought you woulda, coulda, shouldas, and how things that you feel, excuse me, how you feel should have gone or should be going, and it's not. And you're like, dang, I'm just disappointed. And I had somebody tell me, Melissa, I know that you're disappointed, but the reality is you're not in control. And I was like, you're absolutely right. The only thing that I can control is what's going on in my space, which helped me move on past the disappointment. I still have feelings, and they hurt because of my woulda, coulda, shouldas, or how I feel things should have gone or should be going. But in the end, I had to understand that it's out of my control and stop putting energy into something that you cannot control. Stop putting energy. So try to figure out ways to make yourself happy and how to make your child happy. And how to always be happy in your space, because those are the things that you'll be able to control. And it might not seem like it at first because you're in a whirlwind of holy crap. But once you get your bearings down and the unknown is not as bad as you thought it was going to be, disappointment is a little less hurtful day by day. I'll say it like that. But it'll never go away. It'll never go away. And it definitely will take longer to heal from disappointment when there's no communication. When you and that person are just not there yet. But one day you will be. One day you will be. Once the smoke clears, once the smoke clears and things are all figured out, whether it's between you and that person or whether it's legally. Once the smoke clears, it may take some years. Don't think it's gonna happen overnight, but you'll be able to talk again and it'll be okay. Y'all might not be friends, but you'll at least be able to have a civil conversation. Um, don't let what's going on now affect the possibilities for your future. So don't get your emotions together. Get your emotions together. Find that strength. Find ways to heal. Ways to heal for me, so I didn't sit in disappointment. I kept moving, moving. I would realize that I could do things by myself. I would wake up and I would go sit by the pool and just think by myself. I would invite my daughter to come down too, but sometimes she needs her space. She's a teenager. Um, I will go to concerts by myself. I still do. I go to comedy shows by myself. I enjoy time by myself. And I think that's a big part of me healing because a big part of my disappointment was being by myself. So once I realized that I could be by myself, I'm like, okay, this isn't that bad. Once I realized that, you hear me say it a lot, it'll be okay. It will be okay. It will be okay, but it takes time. Time. Time heals all wounds. That's not a cliche saying. It's the truth. Time does heal all wounds. Some people heal faster than others. Some people take a little bit more time. Some people need more support. Some people need less support. But you will heal. It hurts now. Ooh, it hurts. But you will heal. And you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And once you get moving and shaking, man, it's great. Just with me being able to get on a plane with my daughter and just to see the smile on her face, her being around her family and friends, and it was a great feeling, but I had to move past the disappointment. I had to move past that stage. And it may seem like gibberish right now, but once you move past the disappointment, you'll be like, oh, Melissa did say that. She did say that. Don't sit in it. Don't sit in the disappointment because whether it's a relationship, whether it's your job, or just things are not going your way, disappointment is going to be there. It's just how you handle it. And, you know, I had many God talks. I did. And it was simple. It wasn't, when I got my reply, it was just trust me. And that's what I did. I trust, and I continue to trust him. I had, because I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't, especially when you're on them early stages. You like 5 steps from a nut house. But once you get it together, you have to find something more powerful than you. And for me, it was not that I had to step into a church, just opening up my Bible and like, okay, God, let's talk this out. And at one time, I even thought that I was supposed to write a book. And I still do believe I'm supposed to write that book, and I go back and forth with that book, back and forth with that book. Um, but I feel like somebody, when I went through my situation, I needed to hear a voice. I didn't want to read a novel. I wasn't there, like, and I told you in my last video or the video before that, I had my family on rotation. I'm not gonna call out their names, but they know who it is. I had them on rotation because I knew I had to move forward, and not just for myself, for my daughter. I'm raising a young woman, and I have to show her how to be strong. But I needed to do that in a manner of being strong, a being careful about what you say to your children about the situation that you're dealing with, because you don't want, even if that person wasn't right, you don't want your child's relationship with their mother or father to be in the negative light. That's something that they need to determine on their own. And I always tell my daughter, even if she's not feeling it, put your best foot forward, because that's the only father you have, and that's the only father you'll ever have. And even if he's going through his situation, I'm going through my situation. he still loves you and you need to love him back. Even if I decide to get married one day, that person will not be my daughter's father. My daughter has a father, but I don't want her to sit in disappointment. The disappointment that we're going through has nothing to do with her. And I love her enough to constantly tell her, this isn't your issue. And we have to be responsible adults not to do that to our kids. Like when my daughter asks me for something, I'm gonna do my best to give it to her. I'm not gonna tell her, go ask your daddy. No, I'm not gonna do that. That's his responsibility. That's not something. I'm not putting a hammer in my child's head. Don't do that. Don't wake up in the morning and be like, ugh, you look like your daddy. Don't do that. Don't, ooh, you acting just like your daddy. Don't do that. You're hurting. Your children are gonna hurt. So you need to build them up. You need to encourage them. Every day my daughter wakes up, I tell her how beautiful she is and how much I love her. And it's because I do. Every night she goes to bed, I tell her how smart she is, how beautiful she is, and how much I love her because I do. How strong she is because she is. And these are the things you need to feed into your child. You know, we build up our spouses, build up your children. Don't point out negative things, especially in this time, because it's fragile and you don't want them to be in disappointment while you are healing. Don't put your children in a place where they're in a negative space and you're in your own space and you're doing better. Don't do that to them. Build them up as you would build anybody else up around you. Make them strong just like you would make anybody else strong around you. Show them that it'll be okay and show them that they too will heal. And I think that's all that I want to say. I want to leave it at that because I think that a lot of us, when we're dealing with our own dealings, we forget about our children. They're disappointed too, especially if you have older children. Like my daughter's 16, so she's aware of the things that are going on around her. She's not a baby. But it's your job. It is both of you all's job, really, to tell them it's not their fault. Everything will be all right. You love them, and you're going to show them the strength that they have. They have the strength too. So constantly do things with them. Like, oh my gosh, I wanted to cry when I saw my daughter with her cousins. Like that touched my heart because she just continued to smile and smile and smile and smile and that felt good for me. So do things with your kids. Keep them busy. If you're busy, make them busy too. Put them in camps. She and I talked about her going to soccer camp and doing different things. And I want her to visit both of her grandparents over the summer. I want her. We talked about her getting her driver's license and different things like that. So I want her to stay just as busy as I'm busy because I believe, you know, that helps too. Sometimes when you just sit down and you think too much, you're overthinking and overanalyzing, and it's not really that deep. So make sure you're taking time with your kids. And if you feel that your kids are not moving forward, seek professional help. That's my other advice. Therapy, family therapy when you're ready for that. Even if they have to have therapy on their own, seek it. But if you don't see progress, if you see that they're in a bad place, if they're harming themselves, or if they just changed 360 degrees, this isn't even a child you know, seek some help fast. But for me and my daughter, we're doing pretty good. And I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of her maturity. And I'm very proud that she decided not to sit in a disappointment. Y'all don't sit in a disappointment. Move forward. People have done this. They've done this in the past, and they'll do it in the future. You are a testimony for somebody else. Your strength will be a testimony for the people around you. And remember that. Remember that. Even though if you don't want to hear it, do not sit in the disappointment. And that's all I wanted to say. Until next time, see you then.